Hey guys, welcome back to another video. So this video is going to be all about how I made this new doll that is up for grabs. It is a spirit bear, so it's a little look at what she looks like. Smaller sort of doll, but this video is going to be how I made her, and I just sort of modified an old existing sculpt that I did a while ago, some of my very first dolls, which was a bear. So I ended up modifying the head because I'm not going to use it again. So I modified it more than I thought I was going to do. But yeah, this one is available in my shop, creaturesinnet.com. It's a cute little spirit bear. It's got a little soft face, nice little soft look in its eyes. But yeah, so if you want to know how I made her, then keep watching. Okay, so I'm starting off by painting some glass eyes up. So I'm using a water-based acrylic paint to paint the little pupils in black, and then once it's dry, I'm going to go ahead and paint the rest of the eye in brown and just leave that to dry for a couple of hours to make sure that none of the paint's going to come off. But in the meantime, I can start working on my sculpt. So this is the original bear sculpt that one of my very first dolls, I sculpted out of Super Sculpey, and I molded it and cast it in resin multiple times. So there's plenty of dolls with this face, so I decided to customize this face because I have retired it now and I haven't made a doll with this head in a long time. So what I'm doing is just working on the eye area, so I'm making them a bit more realistic. So I'm using those glass eyes, and I have placed a little bit of Sculpey on the eye area just to create like a eye well or an eye socket, and I put the glass eyes on top and just made sure they were nice and symmetrical. Once that's done, I can start working on the eyelids. So I've rolled out a little piece of clay, and I'm going to be doing the eyelids on both halves. So I start off by doing the bottom one and then go over on the top, and then I can play around with the clay to get different looks in the eyes. So I wanted a nice soft look in this one, so I just played around the eyelids for a bit and just created a softer look, and the same deal on the other side as well, making sure that both eyes are symmetrical as well. It's always a little bit difficult, but you get the hang of it once you've done it a fair few times. So once that's done, I can start moving on to the eyebrow area. And again, I just go in with a larger piece of clay that I've rolled out into a snake again, and just creating the eyelid area. I do a couple of these in different thicknesses just to achieve the eye sort of brow line. And because bears have a bit of a pronounced brow, I just basically building it up a little bit just as I go until I'm happy with the way it looks. I was only going to do a little bit of modifying to this head, but I ended up doing the whole thing just because it wasn't looking symmetrical, wasn't quite looking right, and things needed to be bulked out. So I ended up doing like the whole head. So it's a whole new head, but it was definitely faster sculpting this because I've already had the base sculpted. So I basically just went over it with a thin layer of Sculpey Original and just created basically a new face. So with the brow line here, I'm just blending it into each other in between the eyes just to create a bit of a gully, I guess, and to have those pronounced brows. Then I can start working on the under eye area, so I just need to bulk that out a little bit and give it a bit more of a pocket, if that makes sense, and I can blend the rest of it out to make the edge of the face a bit bulkier because I wanted a bit more round because this bear face is quite thin, so I wanted to bulk out the sides of the head a bit more. So I have these little silicone tools that I've been trialing. I've got another set here, another 2 sets that I'm going to be putting in my shop very soon. I'm just trying them out first and see how I like them first, and once I'm happy with them, then I'll put them in my shop. They work pretty well because there's some things that you can't get your fingertips in, so these silicone tools work really well. So just moving on to bulking the side out. So I'm just doing a rough log on the side and blending it into the side of the head. Then I'm going to go in and just change a little bit of the ear shape, just putting a little tip on it because I wanted a bit more, not so round I guess, so I'm just putting a little tip on this one. And then I can move on to changing the lower lip a little bit. I'm not going to do too much on the muzzle area, but the lower lip I wanted to bring out a little bit more and create an actual lip on the edge of it. So I'm just bringing it out a bit more and blending it into the existing jaw. And I'm just doing a thin layer on the muzzle just to change it, just a tiny bit, not too much because it doesn't need too much changing. And then just a small bit of bulking out on the top of the nose area. So I'm just going to square it off a little bit more because it's a bit rounded. So just going to put a couple of thin layers like snakes on each side and blend it in and then sort of square it off a little bit. Just wanted to add a little bit more volume to the sides of the eye just to make it a bit more pronounced. Now with the lip, I've just rolled out a really thin piece of clay and I'm going to be putting it on the edge of the lip and just sort of blending it off into the jaw. I don't want to create too much volume on the sides of the mouth because I'm pretty happy with the way that looks. So I'm just going to cut it off right here and blend it in a bit more and blend it in under the jaw as well. And I'm just going to leave that lip there pronounced. Okay, so this is what we have. I'm going to blend everything in a bit better so it's a bit blocky at the moment, and then I can start adding the fur. So I don't add too much fur texture for this one because I'm going to be covering it with faux fur anyway, so I really just add some faux texture to the eye area and the nose and mouth area because they are quite thin in terms of applying faux fur, so it really makes it easier to blend it into the transition. So I don't go too overboard with my furring texture. I just use a needle tool that I sort of scrape along and just make some fur texture. Okay, so once that's baked, I can start painting some areas that are going to be sort of exposed and not covered in faux fur. So the mouth area, I'm going to do the first layer in this nice pink color. I'm also going to do a little bit of pink on the nose and a little bit around the eyes, and then I'm going to go in with another color and blend it in. I'm going to go in with raw umber and just sort of blend it into a patchy color, because the spirit bears don't have a black nose or a brown nose. They've got like a patchy pinky brown nose, so I'm going to do a combination of the two colors and just blend them in. Moving on to the armature, so I have created a armature using a 1/4 size ball and socket armature. I have these in my shop if you're interested in creating your own ones with this armature. I am out of this tool though, so I am going to order it soon. They sell out pretty quickly, so I just sort of need to order some more, I guess. May do a pre-order in the future for that, but at the moment I don't have any. I only have the larger size tool in stock, so they just pop together really quickly. And I do have coils of this size as well. I've got coils of all sizes, so you can check that out if you're interested. Once I've done the armature, I can start the felting process. So I cover the armature in some pipe cleaners, or I think they're called Chanel sticks everywhere else. And I do that because it gives the polyfill something to stick to rather than just sort of slipping around on that slippery armature. And I basically just do layers of the polyfill and just poke away and needle felt it until I'm happy with a shape of the body. So it sort of acts as like a muscle tone, and then I can start covering it with faux fur. So I'm going to be using this really nice creamy faux fur. It's really similar to a spirit bear color. I managed to find this. I looked in a lot of places with this one, and I managed to find it at one of my local stores, so I was really lucky. And it's just enough to do this doll, so lucky this doll isn't too big, because there was only like a 1/4 sized piece left. So I managed to get this, and it's perfect for the spirit bear. So I basically start off with the torso piece. I pin it together in the middle, and then I can start cutting around the leg area and pinning that together, so it just gives somewhere for the legs to poke through. And then I'll do the legs separately once all the torso piece has been sewn together. In terms of sewing, I sew everything with a lattice stitch. And I use a good quality thread too, because you need to have some tension on it. If you have a cheap quality thread, it usually snaps when you have pulled some tension on it. So it's always good to get some good quality thread. So same deal with the leg pieces, just pinning everything together first, and I end up sewing it all together. I ended up pinning everything together first and just giving it a little trim to make sure the legs are conform to the body underneath, and that way it's a little bit easier to get the shape that you want and sew everything together. Once everything is sewn, I can glue everything together. So I use some tacky fabric glue from my local craft store, and I just load up the neck area to begin with and make sure it's sitting nicely before it dries, and then do the leg areas. So that's the leg to the feet. I usually leave that to dry overnight just to make sure everything is nice and adhered before I move on to any next steps. So the next steps is basically adding some faux fur to the head and feet, and then giving it an all over trim. This one I didn't trim very much because it didn't need a trim because the fur is quite short, but I gave the head a bit of a trim and a tidy up, and this is basically what we have. So this one is available in my shop at creaturesandnat.com. You can check me out on Instagram, Facebook and TikTok as well, Creatures and Nat. I'll catch you in the next one. Bye.